Artificial intelligence has become one of the most transformative technologies of our time, impacting virtually every aspect of our lives. From business and finance to healthcare and transportation, AI is changing how we work, communicate, and interact with the world around us. As AI continues to evolve and advance, many people are raising important questions about the implications of these developments. Notably, white-collar jobs appear to be under threat, much like how the Industrial Revolution impacted blue-collar jobs. Specifically, philosophers are currently wrestling with the anthropological implications of AI from a worldview standpoint. What are the implications for the human race if AI can accomplish many tasks as effectively as or even better and more affordably than humans? In this video, we'll explore the relationship between Christianity and AI, examining the opportunities and challenges of this emerging technology and considering how Christians can navigate these cutting-edge technological developments. First, let's begin with a brief introduction to the inner workings of AI algorithms and machine learning. Without venturing into a technical abyss that might cause heads to spin, we'll attempt to define AI in the broadest fashion possible. At its core, AI is essentially a program, a set of coded instructions designed to perform tasks automatically. Each program takes an input and produces an output. For example, think of a simple calculator that adds 2 to any number you input. If you input the number 1, the calculator processes this input by adding 2 and gives you the output of 3. What makes AI unique compared to basic programs is that it often relies on fields like machine learning and deep learning. These terms refer to how AI systems learn from data and improve over time without being explicitly programmed for every possible scenario. Teaching an AI program involves showing it how to improve its decision-making or predictive abilities through examples. Imagine the AI as a student learning to identify objects in images. By providing it with numerous pictures, some featuring cats and others dogs, along with labels indicating which is which, the AI examines these images to find patterns that enable it to distinguish between a cat and a dog. It might notice, for instance, that cats tend to have certain ear shapes or fur textures different from dogs. To help the AI understand these patterns, it adjusts certain parameters called weights. You can think of weights as dials that the AI tweaks to fine-tune its understanding of the data. Initially, the AI might not get it right. It might mislabel a dog as a cat, but over time, as it processes more and more images and receives feedback on its predictions, it adjusts these weights to improve accuracy. This process of learning from mistakes and updating its understanding is what makes AI more powerful than traditional rule-based programs. Let's consider a simple and practical example of an AI adjusting its understanding based on feedback. Imagine you're training an AI to predict whether someone will enjoy an apple based on 2 factors, sweetness and crunchiness, both rated on a scale from 1 to 10. You provide the AI with several examples. In the first instance, an apple with high sweetness and low crunchiness was liked. In the second instance, an apple with low sweetness and high crunchiness was disliked. In the third instance, an apple with high levels of both sweetness and crunchiness was liked. At the beginning, the AI doesn't know which factor is more important, sweetness or crunchiness. It assumes they are equally significant. When it makes its initial predictions, it might get some right and others wrong. For example, using equal importance for both factors, the AI might incorrectly predict that the second apple, low sweetness, high crunchiness, would be liked when, in reality, it was disliked. Recognizing this mistake, the AI adjusts its internal parameters, perhaps deciding that sweetness should be given more weight than crunchiness. With this adjustment, the AI revises its predictions. Now, when evaluating an apple with low sweetness, it might correctly predict that it will be disliked, even if the crunchiness is high. Through this process of adjustment and learning from errors, the AI becomes better at predicting preferences. If someone gathers enough data on an individual's apple preferences, and those preferences remain consistent over time, it's possible to develop a model that can accurately forecast whether the person will enjoy or dislike a specific apple. This is achieved by training the model based on the collected data and continually refining it as more information becomes available. Now let's discuss the relationship between AI and GPT, generative pre-trained transformers. Generative pre-trained transformers, or GPT, are a type of artificial intelligence model widely used in natural language processing, NLP. Developed by OpenAI, GPT models utilize a neural network architecture called a transformer to generate text that is remarkably similar to human writing. These models are trained on large data sets to predict the next word in a sequence based on the input, enabling them to produce coherent and contextually relevant text across a variety of applications, including chatbots, language translation, and content generation. At the core of a GPT model are parameters, often referred to as weights. These weights define how the model processes input data and influence the accuracy and quality of the generated output. For example, GPT-3, the model that powered the very first version of ChatGPT, contains 20 billion parameters, a staggering number compared to the simple weights in our Apple preference example. These parameters represent the model's learned knowledge from extensive pre-training on large-scale text datasets. Just like in our earlier example, where the AI adjusts its understanding based on feedback, GPT models also adjust their weights during training. If the model incorrectly predicts a word in a sentence, it will reduce the importance or weight of the connections that led to that wrong prediction and increase the importance of connections that could have led to a better prediction. Over millions of iterations, these adjustments make the model more accurate. A key aspect of the GPT architecture is the transformer model, which utilizes a mechanism called attention to understand the relationships between words in a sequence. Attention allows the model to weigh different parts of the input text differently, assigning more importance to some words based on their relevance to the context. For instance, in a sentence like, "The cat sat on the mat and it purred," the model needs to understand that it refers to cat and not mat. The attention mechanism helps the model identify these relationships, allowing it to generate more coherent and contextually appropriate responses. Hence, when you prompt ChatGPT to answer from a certain perspective or using a specific language or tone, the attention mechanism influences the kind of output produced. If you're interested in diving deeper, there's a YouTube video created by Andrej Karpathy, a Slovak-Canadian computer scientist who served as the Director of Artificial Intelligence and Autopilot Vision at Tesla and co-founded and formerly worked at OpenAI. In this video, he illustrates how you can build your own GPT that mimics Shakespeare in approximately 300 lines of code. It's pitched at a very accessible level and is worth a watch. Let's define AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, and SI, Superintelligence. An AGI is an AI that can understand, learn, and apply intelligence across a wide range of tasks, much like a human. Unlike GPT, which is excellent at specific tasks, like generating text or predicting preferences based on certain features, it'd be able to perform any intellectual task that a human can without being limited to just one area. GPT-4, the current flagship model from OpenAI, is already a step toward AGI as it can natively process not only text-based inputs but also audio and visual material. How is this possible? Computers have the potential to represent photos, videos, which are essentially many photos strung together, and audio as data that can be processed similarly to text. Superintelligence goes beyond AGI and refers to an AI that exceeds the cognitive abilities of the smartest humans in virtually every field, including scientific creativity, the ability to produce new and useful ideas, products, or solutions using scientific knowledge and creative thinking, social intelligence, the ability to understand and maintain relationships with others, problem solving, and more. The success of GPT, LLMs, generative AI, large language models, cannot be overstated. ChatGPT, along with competitors like Anthropic Claude, Google Gemini, and others, has had a significant global impact. Many people have used ChatGPT to complete tasks or address specific questions. Furthermore, developers have employed the API to create software that leverages these models, resulting in a dramatic increase in the speed of software development. These models are not only proficient in generating text in natural language, but also exhibit outstanding performance in writing code. Since code, similar to language, follows logical sequences and relationships and is text-based, it's not surprising that the model excels in coding tasks as well. Consequently, many white-collar jobs, such as customer support, copywriting, financial analysis, and legal assistance, seem to be in jeopardy, or at the very least, a substantial portion of their roles. Similar to how a tractor mechanized the task of plowing fields that were once done manually by humans and horses, GPT is capable of automating white-collar tasks that involve reproducing what others have already achieved and documented. Why are people afraid of recent developments in AI? Standing at the threshold of history, we are confronted with the potential for substantial changes in the future due to advancements in AI. How should we navigate these advancements? What sets these developments apart, and why do they evoke a sense of intrigue and fear for many, is that, unlike past forms of automation and human advancement such as the Industrial Revolution, AI progress jeopardizes numerous white-collar jobs. Moreover, the notion of superintelligence questions the fundamental idea of human superiority, where humans are seen as the primary and innovative force shaping history. If you were to inquire about people's opinions on the current advancements in AI, chances are high that they harbor negative feelings towards it. This negative sentiment is not due to the technology itself being ineffective, but mainly stems from concerns about job displacement, loss of autonomy, and the uncertainty it brings. Interestingly, many of those who openly criticize AI are using it in their personal lives. Opting out of utilizing such technology, which essentially taps into the vast knowledge of human history, puts individuals at a disadvantage compared to those who embrace it. Consequently, this reliance on technology may lead to a feeling of being dispensable as tasks become simpler and the required expertise to complete certain tasks diminishes. Recent developments in AI have already surpassed the human benchmark, and as such, are outperforming humans in certain tasks. This provokes deep inquiries into human excellence and uniqueness. The prospect of AI surpassing a person in daily tasks at a reduced cost can raise deep personal concerns about their perceived societal value and job security. As such, this skepticism towards AI advancements stems not from its lack of utility, but from its transformative impact on society, heralding a significant paradigm shift. What exactly is creativity, and can generative AI models replace human creativity? Many individuals who are doubtful about AI's capacity to support them in their work take solace in the belief that their jobs involve a level of creativity that cannot be replicated by AI and therefore cannot be automated. This, as we'll see, might well be the case, but we must distinguish between kinds of creativity. There are essentially two types of creativity that humans have explored: conceptual creativity and combinatorial creativity. I contend that advancements in AI could potentially, and in limited ways, challenge the distinctive nature of human capacity for combinatorial creativity, while leaving conceptual creativity largely unaffected. Let's unpack this. Conceptual creativity involves generating entirely new ideas, frameworks, or paradigms that break away from existing norms. This form of creativity leads to the creation of original concepts that had not previously been envisioned. It's often seen in groundbreaking scientific theories, innovative philosophical systems, revolutionary product designs, or the creation of novel artistic movements. For instance, artists like Salvador Dali and Pablo Picasso pioneered surrealism and cubism. These movements were not simply combinations of earlier styles, but rather paradigm-shifting innovations that redefined the boundaries of art itself. Conversely, combinatorial creativity involves the fusion of existing ideas, knowledge, or concepts in distinctive ways to generate something novel. It often involves blending unrelated or loosely connected fields, leading to innovative solutions or original creations. For example, drawing inspiration from biology to advanced technology, as seen in biomimicry, or merging elements from diverse art forms to create a new hybrid genre. AI models are constrained in their ability to perform conceptually creative tasks due to the limitations imposed by their training data. These models are restricted to making predictions within the boundaries of their initial calibration and cannot generate insights beyond this foundation. Their functionality is inherently confined to processing internal data. However, it's reasonable to assume that modern AI algorithms can perform tasks that require combinatorial creativity to some extent. This capability is somewhat evident in the model's generative capacity. When given a prompt, ChatGPT can produce text that doesn't match any existing human texts verbatim. The model connects words and passages to create a new output based on the prompt. However, this suggests that the information and connections necessary for generating the output were already present in the human texts used to train the model. For instance, you can ask GPT to write you a poem on almost any topic, and you won't find the poem it wrote anywhere on the internet. The model was able to predict the probable lines of poetry needed to address the query based on the prompt. The model's capacity for creatively combining elements renders it far more valuable than some skeptics might acknowledge. It's reasonable to anticipate that the model will offer valuable insights into areas of research that have already generated a substantial body of written work by human researchers, by combining it with insights from other areas. These models have presented an unprecedented opportunity to fast-track research and education, as they can essentially guide a person through the corpus of historical human research. However, it's crucial to keep in mind that the model's capacity to perform these tasks depends on a human or conscious entity directing it to produce particular results. For example, if you train a model that understands the attributes of a man and a horse thoroughly, it might, when prompted to merge these two concepts, propose the notion of a centaur, even if it doesn't explicitly identify it as such. Theoretically, the model can then be retrained on its outputs of what a merger between man and horse might look like, and in this way, it has performed part of the combinatorial creative task. But it's the human agent who had to prompt it to merge the two concepts, and it's only the human agent who will know and comprehend that the merger of the two concepts into a centaur is a fiction. The model isn't aware of any of this and couldn't prompt itself to generate the concept of a centaur. Even if a model were left alone to randomly merge concepts, it would very likely produce nonsensical results, being unable to distinguish fact from fiction. Sometimes, models already produce flawed outputs when they hallucinate, generating plausible but untrue content. Thus, AI models can greatly assist in performing combinatorial creative tasks. However, it's very likely that the human crafting the prompts still has to inject a measure of creativity for the results to be meaningful and useful. One might question whether a model could engage in self-learning. Self-learning models are not a novel concept. Humans have developed models that take in information from the external environment and subsequently modify their internal parameters based on this new input and the response it elicits. An example of such an algorithm is the YouTube recommendation system, which predicts videos a user might enjoy by analyzing their recent viewing history. Another example is DeepMind's famous model, AlphaGo, which learned to play Go by continuously playing games against itself and others, updating its strategy after each game to improve performance. While it may appear from these instances that self-learning models have the potential to engage in conceptually creative tasks, such as AlphaGo making unprecedented moves in the game of Go, this oversimplifies the situation. The rules and potential moves of Go were thoroughly understood by humans beforehand. The same principle applies to any model operating and learning within strict parameters. It's straightforward to build a tic-tac-toe game that learns through reinforcement because the rules and outcomes are well established. This works because the environment provides clear, immediate feedback on whether a move helps win the game. Applying the training approach used by AlphaGo to GPT would involve having GPT generate random sequences of text for human evaluation. The main difference is that if, by a highly improbable occurrence, GPT generates text that corresponds to an unidentified scientific or philosophical breakthrough, the model must await human validation before receiving any feedback. Otherwise, how would it know that its output, which can't be validated by its existing knowledge, is helpful? This training method reveals a fundamental deficiency in the model's ability to comprehend the subject matter, as it primarily involves the model randomly navigating its vast probability space in human language, which is essentially boundless. Can generative AI models understand and comprehend tasks, problems, or scenarios like humans? The Chinese room thought experiment, proposed by philosopher John Searle in 1980, challenges the idea that a machine, like AI, can genuinely understand or comprehend language, even if it behaves as though it does. In this thought experiment, a person is inside a room equipped with a set of rules for manipulating symbols, essentially a program that operates based on algorithms. The person doesn't understand the language of the symbols, but can follow the rules to produce appropriate responses. Suppose someone outside the room slips a note written in Chinese under the door. Even though the person inside doesn't understand Chinese, they use the rulebook to process the symbols and produce a response in Chinese, which they then pass back under the door. To the person outside, it appears as though they're communicating with someone who understands Chinese. In reality, the person inside doesn't comprehend the messages. They're merely manipulating symbols based on predefined rules. This scenario illustrates that, despite producing appropriate responses, the system doesn't genuinely understand the language. This thought experiment raises important questions about the relationship between syntax, the arrangement of symbols, semantics, meaning, and reasoning in human-created artifacts like AI models. It challenges the notion that processing information according to rules is equivalent to understanding. Herein lies the seed of the answer to whether AI models can think in conceptually creative ways and truly understand the difference between fact and fiction. The answer is a resounding no. The ability to comprehend, appreciate, and understand a field of study is uniquely attributable to conscious beings. Now, this claim might raise eyebrows as it has a definitive bearing on theories of human origins, like Darwinism and creationism, and we'll explore this further when we consider the relationship between matter and consciousness. Understanding the human creative process. Exploring these philosophical considerations in AI has led me to reflect on the intricate interconnection between human endeavors, science, philosophy, art, and culture. Historically, these disciplines haven't existed in isolation, but have profoundly influenced one another. Studies have highlighted the clear relationship between culture, art, and philosophy, often showing how dominant philosophical paradigms shape both artistic movements and societal values. For example, the prevailing philosophy in academic and intellectual circles often trickles down into the broader cultural and artistic landscape, albeit with a time delay, typically about a century. This phenomenon can be seen in how postmodernist thought, which emerged as a dominant intellectual framework in the mid-20th century, is reflected in today's cultural ethos. Postmodernism, with its emphasis on individualism, relativism, and a critique of grand narratives, has permeated much of our contemporary liberal culture. We can vividly see its impact on the arts, where the movement beyond surrealism toward more fragmented, chaotic, and abstract forms of expression mirrors the postmodernist philosophy of uncertainty, deconstruction, and plurality. In this sense, art becomes a mirror of the cultural and philosophical undercurrents of the time. Just as the Renaissance was an artistic reflection of the humanism and intellectual revival of classical thought, today's artistic expressions often embody postmodernism's skepticism of objective truths and embrace of subjective experiences. These shifts in art and culture, rooted in philosophical evolution, illustrate the deep interconnectedness of human creativity across different domains. Consider artworks like The School of Athens by Raphael. This painting showcases a vibrant, realistic style closely associated with the resurgence of classical Greek philosophy, known for its realism, that took place at the same time. This era is also notable for remarkable technological and scientific progress, particularly concerning the inventions and research of people like Leonardo da Vinci, who blurred the lines between scientific advancement and art. The advancement of history isn't solely propelled by isolated individuals, but rather by the collaborative interplay among communities of philosophers, scientists, and artists. Each of these groups contributes uniquely, yet synergistically, to foster innovation and mold the future. It's also important to recognize that each one of us, to a limited extent, can be considered philosophers, scientists, and artists. The philosopher in us lays the groundwork by asking fundamental questions about existence, knowledge, and ethics, shaping the intellectual landscape. These ideas influence the broader cultural and intellectual currents, providing the framework within which other fields operate. The artist, inspired by both the present and future, envisions possibilities that stretch beyond current reality, often imagining futures that challenge the status quo. Science fiction, for example, presents not just entertainment, but a speculative roadmap of what might be possible, as seen in works like Star Trek or Star Wars. The scientist, inspired by these artistic visions, uses their tools to explore and push the boundaries of what's physically and technologically achievable. Concepts born in the imagination are then pursued scientifically, gradually turning fiction into reality. This process is collaborative. Philosophers pose the questions, artists present the visions, and scientists work to make these visions a reality. Together, they form a symbiotic relationship that fuels the progress of history and human innovation. Creativity, therefore, isn't a trait limited to certain individuals, but is an intrinsic characteristic of humans as a social species. From a human perspective, the creative process is threefold, involving the mind of the individual, the collective minds of others, and creation, the external world itself. Motivational drive, innate curiosity, the need for discovery, and a sense of accomplishment are qualities that machines, whether programs or physical matter, cannot possess. While machines can process information, assist in problem-solving, and simulate decision-making, they lack the intrinsic motivations that are central to human experience. As we'll explore in later sections, true curiosity and the feeling of accomplishment arise from consciousness, intentionality, and subjective experience. These are qualities that machines, which rely on programmed human-generated logic and data, simply do not have. Thus, what recent developments in AI will likely mean is that the human collective will need to spend less time on mundane tasks that have been solved before and spend more time on what makes humans excellent and valuable, the creative and scientific process. Worldviews and generative AI. Generative AI inherits the worldview embedded in its training data because its outputs are fundamentally shaped by the vast corpus of human knowledge and language from which it learns. Models like GPT are trained on immense datasets that include text from books, websites, news, social media, and academic papers. As a result, the AI absorbs not only the linguistic patterns, but also the underlying values, biases, and assumptions present in that data. This inheritance means that the worldview reflected in generative AI outputs isn't neutral. If the training data contains biases, whether historical, cultural, or social, the AI will replicate and even amplify these biases. For example, generative AI might inherit gender stereotypes from biased language in text or reflect political or cultural biases if it has been trained on materials that skew toward a particular worldview. Furthermore, since AI cannot think independently or critically assess the information it learns, it doesn't have a worldview of its own. It simply reproduces patterns based on statistical correlations. Therefore, the worldview it reflects is that of the society and the specific subcultures from which its data is sourced, which raises questions about responsibility, curation, and oversight in the development of these technologies. When you inquire with your preferred AI model about topics like the number of genders, the existence of God, or the exclusivity of Jesus Christ as the path to salvation, you're likely to receive responses that don't align with Christian beliefs. This isn't because the AI has somehow learned the correct answers on its own, but rather because of the curation of its training data and subsequent tuning, which have deliberately steered it towards a particular stance. For example, an AI might respond, "The existence of God is a subject of debate and remains unproven from an objective standpoint. There isn't a universally agreed-upon number of genders, as it can vary widely based on individual identity, cultural context, and social norms. Therefore, artificial intelligence cannot be relied upon as an authoritative source for crucial decision-making or for exploring fundamental subjects such as worldview and religion, where its responses are considered absolute truths. AI inherently carries the biases of its designers, which is unavoidable. For Christians, the Word of God is the only infallible authority. Therefore, the results of any AI model should be assessed in light of the Word of God, similar to any other human-generated information. Using AI responsibly involves being fully aware of its capabilities and limitations. For instance, while AI can offer insightful commentary on religious texts due to its training on theological materials, it's essential to guide it with appropriate prompts and thoroughly assess its responses. AI shouldn't be avoided, but rather employed with caution. What is a human? Elon Musk introduced XAI with the goal of comprehending reality and addressing the fundamental inquiries of life. Additionally, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, highlighted a supposed groundbreaking revelation that intelligence emerges as a property of matter. Are these assertions plausible? Let's delve into this further. Darwinism and AI. Darwinism, when viewed from a strictly naturalistic perspective, excluding theistic interpretations, posits that life emerged from non-living matter and through processes like random mutation and natural selection evolved. According to this view, consciousness and the ability to think rationally are seen as emergent properties of complex biological systems. In this framework, many Darwinists adopt a materialist reductionist stance on the mind and consciousness, believing that these phenomena can be fully explained by the interaction of physical matter and the laws of physics. If consciousness arose from purely physical processes in humans, it opens the possibility that artificial systems, like AI, could one day achieve consciousness as well. The logic follows that if matter can evolve into conscious beings, it's conceivable that non-biological systems, designed and advanced by humans, could also become conscious. Assuming this is possible, we can see where the idea of a superintelligence comes from. AI could surpass human intelligence, not just in computational power, but in cognitive abilities, creating a form of intelligence that exceeds human mental capacities in every dimension. But does this idea hold any water philosophically? We've already alluded to the Chinese room thought experiment that might suggest otherwise. We can also consider the hard problem of consciousness, a concept introduced by philosopher David Chalmers. The hard problem points out that even if we can explain the physical processes underlying brain function, we still lack an explanation for why or how these processes give rise to subjective experiences. In other words, we can describe the brain's mechanisms in scientific terms, but we cannot explain why certain physical states feel like something, such as the experience of seeing a color or feeling pain. This subjective, first-person experience seems to resist reduction to purely physical explanations, which complicates the notion that consciousness could simply emerge from matter, whether biological or artificial. Philosophical zombies, or P-zombies, are often invoked in discussions about the hard problem of consciousness. Imagine a world identical to ours in every physical respect, where humans exist with the same biological and neurological structures as we do, but with one crucial difference. These humans lack consciousness. In other words, P-zombies would behave and respond exactly like normal humans. They would speak, move, and react in the same way, but they would have no subjective experience. If you were to poke a P-zombie with a stick, all the physical processes in the brain would activate as they would in a conscious human, causing it to flinch or express discomfort. However, despite these reactions, the P-zombie wouldn't feel pain or have any inner experience of it. This thought experiment illustrates the puzzling gap between physical processes and subjective experience, highlighting how consciousness resists being fully explained by physical properties alone. What would P-zombies do? I contend that they wouldn't do much, if anything at all. Without consciousness, they would lack drive, motivation, desires, goals, or any sense of accomplishment. Their behavior would be purely reactive, mechanically following the same processes a human brain might undergo, but with no internal experience to fuel decision-making or personal engagement. In this sense, the world would likely stagnate, as there would be no true innovation, creativity, or intentional action. P-zombies can be compared to modern-day AI models like GPT. While these models are highly capable of generating language, solving problems, and mimicking human conversation, they do so only in response to external prompts. They have no inherent motivation or self-directed purpose. They merely react to input. Like P-zombies, they operate without consciousness, awareness, or personal intent. They rely entirely on external forces to drive processes forward. Without these forces, both P-zombies and GPT would remain passive, with no intrinsic capacity to take action on their own. The image of God. According to the Christian worldview, humans aren't mere machines but are endowed with the image of God, which entails personality and specifically a personal religious fellowship with God. The Christian view of humanity is dualistic. We are both body and soul spirit. A human cannot be reduced merely to material parts, as there is an immaterial aspect to our existence. Linked to the concept of God is the notion of covenant. Humans were made in covenant with God. This covenant involved humans, with God's guidance and support, overseeing creation and safeguarding it from corruption and wickedness. In Genesis 1:28, God commanded humanity, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." This command necessitates that humans be driven to understand or comprehend the world in order to subdue it. This is vividly illustrated in Genesis chapter 2. Now out of the ground the Lord God had formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the heavens, and to every beast of the field. Genesis 2:19-20 ESV. God created all the animals and entrusted Adam with the task of naming them. This act of naming displayed Adam's conceptual creativity, as the names he assigned were completely original and not derived from any existing source. Through naming the animals, Adam initiated humanity's exploration of God's creation and the responsibility to govern it in a manner that honors God. The task Adam started continues to be relevant today, and it's an inherent part of human nature as the pinnacle of God's creation. We possess unique capabilities that enable us to continuously learn, evolve, and excel in our mastery of creation over time. The progress of modern AI stands as a notable showcase of our mastery of innovation, affirming our continued responsibility as caretakers of creation. Instead of altering our role, AI will emerge as an additional resource to advance human endeavors and enhance our stewardship of God's creation. Disregarding these technological advancements out of fear or distrust would liken us to the Amish. I believe that humans do not originate from Darwinistic materialism. It's my firm conviction that consciousness cannot evolve from matter. Despite the thrilling prospects and risks, including the potential to disrupt current human industries brought about by AI advancements, I do not foresee the emergence of any superintelligence that could rival human dominance in the world. The War of the Worldviews. As prompted in Douglas Wilson's book, Ride, Sally, Ride, we need to equip ourselves to tackle complex anthropological questions in the coming times. Our perception of what a human is and human origins will shape how we view developments in AI. If an AI claims to be conscious, or if individuals begin to develop romantic feelings for machines, how would you respond? Conclusion. As we stand on the cusp of unprecedented technological advancements, the rise of artificial intelligence presents both remarkable opportunities and profound challenges. AI models like GPT have revolutionized how we interact with technology, offering tools that can augment our capabilities and reshape industries. They excel in tasks that involve processing vast amounts of data and even demonstrate a form of combinatorial creativity. However, they remain fundamentally limited. They do not possess consciousness, true understanding, or the ability to engage in conceptual creativity that breaks new ground, and only possess a limited ability to perform some combinatorial creative tasks when prompted correctly. The fears surrounding AI often stem from concerns about job displacement and a loss of human uniqueness. Yet, it's crucial to recognize that AI, no matter how advanced, operates within the parameters set by human ingenuity. It lacks the intrinsic motivations, consciousness, and intentionality that are inherent to the human experience. Machines process information. Humans comprehend, feel, and aspire. Ultimately, while AI will transform how we work and interact, it cannot replace the essence of what makes us human. Our consciousness, creativity, and capacity for love are gifts that no machine can replicate. As we move forward, let us do so with confidence in our unique identity and a commitment to using all tools at our disposal to advance truth, beauty, and goodness in the world. Thank you for joining me on Apologetics Central. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content exploring the intersection of faith, technology, and philosophy. Until next time, Stay curious and stay faithful.